Welcome to Garden Plants with Jim Putnam. Let's talk Bluebird hydrangeas. This is a Hydrangea serrata, otherwise known as mountain hydrangea. This particular one is called Bluebird. There's actually quite a few of these out on the market now. We've got a variegated one at the house that will eventually be on the Garden Plants channel as well. And again, other newer ones being introduced. Bluebird has always been one of my favorites. I grew this one at my nursery for a long time. It has a really dense, compact habit. And this one is, this group of four has been planted right along the edge of a path. And this is one of the few hydrangeas like this that you could do, these big leaf type hydrangeas that you could do this with, because it is so compact. You can see how floriferous it is, just amazing color on these. It's the pH dependent, the flowers are pH dependent. We'll talk about a little more about that in a minute. One of the great things about this particular hydrangea is it has a bright reddish maroon fall color, really incredible fall color on it. So it has a very long season of interest during the season. These are very long blooms. They're going to flush out with a really nice dark green foliage. Here we are toward the end of May. They've been blooming for about 2 weeks. This is over at a friend's house, and we've seen them blooming for a couple weeks now. And they've got a couple more weeks in them for sure. And then again, they're going to get that fall foliage, and it's going to lose its leaves. They are deciduous shrubs. These are sterile around the outside, and this is luring in, right, all the pollinators. And you have the non-sterile flowers are in the middle, and you will get a group of interesting pollinators visiting these hydrangeas during the season. The color of the flowers, you can see these are blue, but there's the occasional pink one mixed in. It is aluminum dependent, that blue coloration. You have to have aluminum present in the soil, and then they need to be slightly acidic soil. So slightly acidic soil with a little bit of aluminum. They're not as blue as you want. You can try to add some aluminum sulfate, but I think overall, or some sort of soil acidifier may help as well to get them bluer. But I kind of like when they have that blue and a little bit of pink blended into them. Again, they're very long bloomed. Bluebird will reach 3 to 4 feet in height by 3 to 4 feet in width, or is maintainable in that range. Again, it has that really, really compact habit. It's one of those few hydrangeas that you could really plant in a tight spot like this one is. These are hardy in zone 6 to 9. Up in zone 6, probably by 6A, you could put them in a little bit more sun. Here in zone 7B on the edge of 8A, they definitely have to be in part shade conditions. But they need some good light or they just won't flower. They'll come out, the foliage will look great, they'll stretch a bit, they'll get a few flowers on them, but in order to get this many flowers, they definitely need some light, and there's a delicate balance there. You'll see them, if they're in too much sun, wilting a lot in the afternoon. They're going to require a little bit more watering to maintain them in more sun, but there is a delicate balance. Feel free to move one around. If you're not getting as many flowers on it as you think you should, or it's wilting way too much because it's in way too much sun, you can move them. They're not planted in the ground forever, so give them a season, see what they do. He's got them in the perfect spot over here. There's high shade, but there's some sunlight peeking through during the day. You can see another Hydrangea macrophylla over here just to the right of it. You can see how much larger that is for one thing, and then it's absolutely full of flowers. And that's an indicator on both of these that he's found the kind of sweet spot where he's getting enough light to set these flower buds, but not so much that it's scorching them. These mountain hydrangeas or Hydrangea serratas are actually pretty tolerant of different soil types. They're pretty tolerant of alkaline soils or acid soils. Of course, that's going to have potentially some impact on the flower color you're getting. The main thing is they need kind of average moisture, not a wet space, but never really dry space. They need this moisture when they're coming out in the spring to put on all this growth that goes from nothing, just sticks coming out of the ground, to all of this growth and all of these flowers within a window of about 5 weeks. And if there's not any moisture available during that time, they're not going to do a very good job of coming out and putting on this big show. So keep them evenly moist, but not wet, just kind of a well-drained, even soil. These will be great on a low foundation. They're great mass planted. It's actually a pretty good container plant because you can really control the moisture in a container. Great in some sort of mixed border. They'll end up about this tall if you let them, and you know, a grouping of them is very, very showy. These aren't going to really require a lot of general pruning. They're pretty self-maintaining, staying in this pretty tight ball. Any pruning you do on them needs to be done as the flowering is finishing. These carry their buds through the winter, so you wouldn't want to do any winter pruning on it. As they flush back out from the winter dormancy, there's probably going to be a dead limb here or there that gets cut out at that time. Almost certainly, most winters you're going to lose a limb on these. We fertilize all of our shrubs toward the end of winter with some sort of organic fertilizer. That's pretty much all you need. Keep the weeds away from them, keep them well mulched. Again, that's going to help control, you know, that even moisture that they really, really like. Really pretty pest free. You'll see on any of these big leaf type hydrangeas, Hydrangea serrata or Hydrangea macrophylla back here, you can get some leaf spot issues on them. We tend to have them in part shade conditions. They can end up with a little moisture on the leaves, get a little spotting on them. When those leaves fall off in the fall, I like to dispose of them on these types of hydrangeas. So we leave our leaves in the garden for the most part, but we only leave our clean leaves in the garden. If there was something that was diseased, we will get those out. So clean those leaves out from under it, put a little bit of fresh mulch up underneath it during the winter months, fertilize it coming out of winter, and that's pretty much it. This is Bluebird hydrangea. It's one I grew for years, and it's really such a low maintenance, big bang for the buck kind of plant for your garden.